the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me from the Hall of Justice, my co-host, Kyle JCRB Krause.
Man, I like the way you can just turn that switch and you're on, man. It's great. I like it.
Well, I am a professional.
Yes. Little peek behind the curtain there. Sorry, breaking the fourth wall a bit. Making people realize that maybe Ian's not always quite as excited as
what are you talking about?
Sometimes.
I'm always at 110% plus ultra. Welcome to the BumbleKast. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm busy, and I can't talk about any of it just yet.
Are you hanging in there all right, though, otherwise?
Yeah. Kind of sitting here on the sidelines being entertained with the latest reveal for the final DLC character for now for Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
All the gnashing of teeth and tearing of hair.
Yeah. That's been pretty. It's been pretty amusing to watch. The way people are just freaking out about Byleth being revealed. It's like, come on, guys. It's whatever.
Here's the thing. I don't begrudge Byleth. I think they look like they're an interesting character. They're not, a clone of some of the other Fire Emblem characters. I dig the map. I dig the music tracks and all that. But I am a little disappointed that, the other 4 slots were third-party characters, and now we've gone back to mainline.
Yeah, that did seem a little weird.
I would have liked one last third-party character, because I think the next 6 will all be first-party, most likely.
Well, there's not...
Just because apparently Nintendo selected them and told Sakurai, these are the ones we want you to do.
There aren't many, characters left, really.
I'm holding out hope for Dixie Kong, but that's another topic.
Yeah.
And when they revealed the costumes, and the first one out was Altair, I'm like, ooh, that would have actually been a really cool 5th character. Maybe the variant costumes are some of the different dyes you can do the outfits, or maybe one is more Ezio, one's more Connor. Maybe he's not the most offensively minded, but he has the spectacular down special and a lot of aerodynamic leapy things. Mm-hmm. I think the Assassin's Creed rep would have been a cool 5th, but okay, Byleth at least is different. That's cool. On Twitter, John Gray, one of the mainstays of the Sonic community, put out an interesting idea where he said, we've got Sans as a Mii shooter. We just got Cuphead as a Mii shooter. What if we got a Mii fighter for Hollow Knight?
Huh. Yeah, I can see that.
And I'm like, yeah. I like that. And what? Let's go on and put in Shovel Knight too. I know he's got an assist trophy, but darn it, I don't want just an assist trophy with that roulette wheel. Let me fight in the name of chivalry.
Yes.
Even if it is a set moveset,
Right, yeah. Shantae would be nice too, at least as a Mii fighter. Just something. I was
wondering, would she really fit as a Mii fighter?
There's really... I mean, not really, but... whatever.
That makes more sense than gunner or sword, but
yeah, I don't know. She kind of used regular weapons in Pirate's Curse, I believe, because she didn't have her powers. So maybe it could be that sort of representation, but I don't know. Just put Shantae in the game somewhere other than as a spirit, or something. I was kind of expecting Rayman to be one of these characters in the fighter pack, because Nintendo has a really good relationship with Ubisoft, and if there was any representation of Ubisoft, I'd figure it'd be Rayman before it would be anything from Assassin's Creed or any other franchise they have, because Rayman makes the most sense. I think he fits in the most aesthetically with Smash, I suppose.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
So, yeah, I'm kind of surprised he hasn't made the transition over. He's a trophy, but he's not a full-fledged character, so kind of surprising. He's actually been a character since, Melee or Brawl? He's been a trophy?
I think so.
I think, yeah, he's been in there for a while. So kind of surprised he hasn't made the jump to full-fledged character yet.
And not to be a wet blanket to some folks, but those of you who want Sora from Kingdom Hearts, no. I can tell you with certainty that's not going to happen.
No.
Because if you look at Cloud and the Final Fantasy stage and just how stingy Square Enix was with just that, there is no way they're going to, one, allow Sora out of his box, and two, work with Disney at all. That has to be an absolute licensing nightmare. Even if you were just to stick with, Sora and the main cast and all the, people of 13 and all that noise, I still can't see Square Enix playing ball.
Yeah, how stingy were they with the Dragon Quest Hero? That's
Square Enix?
Yes. That is Enix.
Well, all right then. Refute me and shut me down. I don't.
Well, no. I'm just wondering if they were also they're like, okay, you can have this character, you can have the stage, but you can only have 2 songs for the stage, like they did with Midgar.
No, I'm pretty sure Dragon Quest Hero has multiple tracks.
Okay.
And given the number of representation of the hero,
that's true. I'm kind of confused though. I'm not confused, surprised, because they actually got the music, and Dragon Quest music is notoriously difficult to get the rights for, and they are very, very, they crack down hard, on streaming it and stuff. If you're playing the game and you have the music streaming at the same time, they will slap you down hard. They even say when you first start playing the game, with Dragon Quest Heroes, there was a notice streaming this game with the music is I don't know, tantamount to murder or something. It's pretty crazy. So I'm kind of surprised that if they got a lot of music in there. I'm kind of surprised about that. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
Okay, maybe that's the exception that proves the rule. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't feel like Sora.
I just feel like
I don't feel like Sora's.
I feel Sora's going to be a nightmare to license.
I don't think Sora's a good fit anyway.
Well, now hold on. If they could get him, I think he'd make enough sense. It'd be yet another swordsman.
He would be.
Yes, I know it's a Keyblade. It's a swordsman character.
He'd be a fine character. I just.
He's a bright and colorful, bouncy individual. I think that would fit with Smash.
I know. He'd be better than Doomslayer, even though Doomslayer would be pretty freaking ridiculous and amazing. So, all right. Is that enough Smash talk for now?
Yeah, because we keep coming back to this topic, and honestly, I'm starting to get a little worn out of it.
Yeah, I've been playing.
We've speculated into the ground with it. So
yeah. Speaking of Doom, actually, I've been playing the newest one, the one released in 2016 lately. Streaming it over on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/BumbleKast Gaming. I'm having a good time with it. It's a really fun game. It's fun to just run around and blow demons away with shotguns. I'm into it, but man, it's a tough game too, and it's brutal. It's hard. It's just I'm at the point where I'm in hell, and I'm at the final boss area of that level, and it's tough. They keep introducing a lot of these much more difficult enemies that are just oh boy, just a lot harder to avoid and run away from, and they've made the arena areas a lot more difficult to traverse. So yeah, it's tough, but it's a really fun game. I'm having a ton of fun with it.
All I can recommend is rip and tear. That's all I know.
That's what I've been doing for the entire game. I actually just got that achievement while playing. Yeah, rip and tear is canon now, so I'm into it. I love it. It's great. So yeah, super fun game. Not much depth, obviously. It's just, run around, shoot demons, but I like it.
But that's all you need.
That really is all you need. So, having a good time with that. If you want to catch it, I've been streaming it over there. We'll release the archive versions probably, I don't know, in 7 months, 8 months, however far behind we are now. You'll see them eventually. It's the first game I'm recording at 60 frames per second, too, by the way, so the resolution and the frame rate should look real nice in the YouTube versions. Anyway, go ahead, Ian. Sorry.
Well, no, let's move on to the main topic, which is the television almost cinematic event of the era, which is Crisis on Infinite Earths, where all the TV drama versions of the DC shows come together. And not having watched any of them, really, I gotta say, I am impressed with the scope of what they attempted to achieve.
They really, they really went hard. I was also very impressed. My personal history with the Arrowverses, I started watching Supergirl in 2015 when it was on CBS originally. And then after that hopped over to the CW. I kept watching it there. Eventually, I hopped over to Legends of Tomorrow, which the first season of that is a little rough around the edges. But after that, it kind of finds its tone and its footing, and it becomes a absolutely ridiculous romp of insanity and just things that make no sense, and it's great, and I love it. And then I just started this year picking up Batwoman, so when that premiered this year. Batwoman is really good. Honestly, Batwoman kind of reminds me of the Netflix Marvel shows, but with a thin veneer of the DC Arrowverse cheese all over it, which is great. So it's not quite as like hardcore dark as the Netflix Marvel shows, but it has some similarities and some just the tonal things. It's a very different show from the other two that I watch. So there's also Arrow and Flash, which Flash is something I've kind of wanted to get into, but I'm 6 seasons behind on that one. And Arrow, I am like 8 seasons behind on now. So,
good Lord.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I don't know how bad I want to catch up on them that badly. So it's like I don't really need to watch them to understand what's going on in these crossovers. I've already figured it out, so I'm good. I can just read recaps or whatever. It's not a big deal. So, but I mean, I do like those characters. Barry especially is a lot of fun. So I should watch them, but I just haven't yet.
Like I said, I haven't really seen all of them myself, and this crossover event didn't really entice me to, but, you know, honestly, watching it, I thought back to when I was a wee bairn, back when the original live-action Flash show was going on.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the original, but, you know, the late 80s.
The 90s one, yeah.
And there was another show called Mantis. I don't know if you ever saw it.
Mm-mm.
Basic premise was this paraplegic guy builds an exoskeleton so that he can move around, and it accidentally gives him superhuman abilities, and he kind of fumbles his way into becoming a superhero, and he more or less has a bat cave with a snarky buddy assistant. And I don't think it lasted more than a season, and it probably was really bad, but I remember being super hyped about it as a kid, and if I could transplant my kid self to now and watching these shows, I would be all about them. Oh yeah. My God, they'd be so cool and so funny, and the effects would be so great, and it would definitely be big for the younger me.
Right.
Old, tired, fat, cantankerous me is like, this was cute. I will say, too, that the promos I had seen for Batwoman turned me off from the show immediately. It looked not so good, but the actress playing Kate immediately turned me around. She was probably the standout actress out of the whole shebang. She
is wonderful. I do not understand the hate for her at all. She is glorious. She's perfect.
The costume, I'm not really fond of the red wig, but for a TV budget costume, I think it's pretty good. And she, as Kate, is really cool. I dug her a lot. I'm like, I would actually want to watch her be that doings. So cool on you, and Infinity Crisis War World thing.
Infinity War Crisis thing. No, that's a different crossover, Ian. Oh man, she is. I really do recommend her show a lot. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. I do not understand the hate at all. I mean, she's perfect as Kate. Since I've read some Batwoman comics, I have some history with the character, and she's like, yeah, she's pretty much spot on to the way Kate acts in the comics. I don't understand why people are freaking out about that. So, but yeah, she's great. And her interactions with Kara during this crossover are aces. They're a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to them crossing over more often, which I think is going to happen now because of the events of this little crisis that they that they had. So
we're just going to go in spoilerific from the get-go here. If you've not caught up on the shows, I guess jump to the Q&A, get your watch on, and then come back to us, because we've already kind of covered the most basic stuff. So from here on in, we're point for point talking episode by episode.
Sure. We will do it. All right. Get out of here. If you're not interested in listening to this, get out of here. Here we go. So, of course, since it's the final season of Arrow, this is pretty much the Oliver Queen farewell tour. They really focus on him a lot, which I get, but it's kind of like sometimes it's at the expense of the other characters, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I don't watch Arrow, so I don't have the connection with him that maybe people who've been watching his show for 8 years have. So I wasn't.
He started the whole DC live action run,
right?
Arrow
on
came
the
first,
on the CW, yeah. All this,
so it's kind of the Tony Stark-ish,
yeah,
in a way.
This is actually very similar to that sort of storyline. So yeah, he started it off, so it makes sense to kind of have it be like focused on him, but just seems like it's a lot of focus on him. But overall, I really had a great time with this whole crossover. There are definitely some things that are a little weird. Things like I've always found the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor to be a bit boring and anticlimactic. Mm-hmm. Even in the original comics, I'm like, who are these guys and why do I care about them? They don't have a whole heck of a lot going on for them. We do learn a little bit about the history of the Monitor, but Anti-Monitor's just kind of filling in the slot for a villain. He's there's nothing. His motivation is bland. He's just evil for evil's sake. So yeah, it's not like it's one of those things where I'm just like, whatever.
That being said, and I'm kind of skipping ahead here.
Go ahead.
But his look and his final showdown was a better version of Apocalypse than the movie Apocalypse.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, he had the high collar, he had the tubes, he grew big and had lasers. It was Apocalypse, really, and it was better.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that when we get to that episode, because there's some other funny things.
Maybe it's because I was up late, but I was cracking up pretty bad going, oh, hey, it's Apocalypse, and he's better than the cinematic version.
They really do kind of like condense things and combine character traits with these shows, so that could make sense. It might have been inspired by Apocalypse. John Cryer as Lex Luthor is a freaking delight. I love him.
Yep.
He is so good. I mean, he's an evil monster, but he's a lot of fun.
Well, he's delightfully slimy.
Yes. He plays it so well. And it's so funny because John Cryer was Lex Luthor's son in Superman 4, so they do a lot of stunt casting in these shows, so things like Kara's mom on Argo City was Lois Lane in Smallville, for example. So,
okay, I thought she looked familiar.
Yeah, so that's where that's from. And a bunch of other stuff like that they do, but he is just so good as Lex. He's probably my second favorite version of Lex, next to the animated one. He's very fun. But I guess let's start with episode 1, which opens up with basically the multiverse getting destroyed, with some really quick cameos, including one of a very, very, very aged Burt Ward. I was really hoping that he had more of a part to play in the whole crossover instead of just showing up, walking his dog down the street, and then being like, what did he say? I don't even remember what he said.
Oh, holy
red skies of death
or something.
Yeah, holy red skies of death. Yeah. I was like, oh,
I was impressed with the deep dig because I think the very, very first shot is Robert Wool reprising the role of Alexander Knox from the first Burton movie, and it's got the Elfman score playing.
Yep.
And it's freaking Earth 89. I'm like, whoa. Okay, that's how we're playing it? All right, I'm on board. I'm buckled in.
They brought everything as much as they, literally as much as they could bring in on here. They brought it in. So you've got the Titans universe that showed up for a few seconds as they, got vaporized. I'm trying to remember what else. I'm trying to remember what other Earths there were. It's been this crossover got split into two events. Like they aired the first 3 episodes back in December, and then they just aired the first 2 episodes this past week. So it was very strange to split them up that way. But so I'm having a hard time remembering what happened, everything that happened in the first episode. But what I do know is that Supergirl can't catch a freaking break, and her planets keep getting destroyed. I feel bad for her. But, her discussion with Superman was nice, though. That was good. And I like this version of Superman. People have a lot of complaints about him, but I like him. I don't think he's bad. I'd watch a show with him as Superman in it, like his own show, which I think is happening. So, Lena Luthor is always fun, but was like, because I watched Supergirl, and Lena's like my favorite character on the show. It kind of hurt me in a good way of her being still kind of, salty and standoffish about some events that happened in the lead up to Crisis. So, yeah, basically Lex Luthor told her who Supergirl was, and so that didn't go over well. And then Oliver dies. Or does he?
Yes and no.
He does that, I guess. He's got to die multiple times, I guess, because why not?
He was looking a little green around the gills.
Oh, a little green around the arrow? That was worse. I'm sorry. Jumping into episode 2, and oh boy, Kara's really mad to see Lex again. Oh boy, I get it though. I really get it. She was going to murder him. I really feel like she has given up her, or not given up, but like set her morality aside when it comes to Lex at this point. I think she does want to kill him. I would not blame her. He needs to die. He was dead, but he got better, which is lame. But also good because I do like this version of Lex. So it's good to see him again, even though he should be dead, but whatever, it's fine. What did you think of Brandon Routh returning as a Superman?
He channels Christopher Reeve very well.
I think he was better at doing that this time than he was back in Superman Returns.
Oh, was he in Superman Returns?
He was Superman in Superman Returns.
Okay. See, you're way more on the ball on this than I am. For all the problems that Superman Returns had, he was not one of them. There were moments where it was spooky just how dead on he was to Reeves' portrayal.
Absolutely, yes.
And honestly, I would rather see him be Superman on TV than the other guy. He works better for me.
I don't disagree. I do. And
that's
like
not
Brandon
to knock
Routh as
the other
Superman
actor
better,
or Henry Cavill. I think Henry Cavill would have been a great cinematic Superman. He was just given nothing to work with. But,
right.
Yeah, Brandon Routh is really neat, and I liked the kind of Kingdom Come style without losing who Superman is.
Right. Yeah.
It's like if Christopher Reeve Superman survived the Kingdom Come storyline, and it's like, that's an interesting take, and I dig it.
I agree. I was rather impressed at how they managed to work in the Kingdom Come storyline and make it work with Christopher Reeve sort of timeline. It's funny because Brandon Routh is he's a regular on Legends of Tomorrow. He plays Ray Palmer, the Atom. He's been there since season 1, and actually I think he was on Arrow before that too. So he's been around for a while, and having Ray meet Superman, coming face to face, and Ray kind of realizing like, oh, I'm Superman on another Earth? That's wild.
That was cute.
And then everybody looking at the Brandon Routh version of Superman going like, Ray, what happened to you? This Kara looks at him and goes, man, Ray, you're jacked now. What the hell happened? It's like, oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, so Legends tends to really, really, really lean on the fourth wall hard, so I appreciate that sort of Legends-esque comedic moment there. Lois Lane. This version of Lois Lane, I think, is way better than this version of Superman, than the Arrowverse version of Superman. She is wonderful. The way she worked together with Iris and used the book to try and get rid of the evil doppelganger Superman that Lex put there because, he's Lex and that's what he does. That was fun. I'm trying to remember what else was in episode 2.
Was that the Kevin Conroy episode, or was that the one after?
I think that is. I think episode 2 is the Kevin Conroy episode. Yeah, that's what I forgot to get to in my notes.
And there I'm a little heartbroken because Kevin Conroy finally playing the Batman in real life is a delight. Having him play Kingdom Come Batman, dead on. Love it. Dig it.
Yeah.
The fact that he got kind of mixed with the most dark, twisted version of Dark Knight Returns makes me sad because I don't want him to be evil. I want him to be good Batman.
Well,
because it's Kevin Conroy and I am a man-child. Wah.
There's a couple of interesting things about his appearance. It was Earth, I believe the Earth designation was Earth 99, which means he is sort of the continuation, or not continuation, but it's a reference to Batman Beyond. Yeah. So supposedly he's like what happened to Bruce Wayne in Batman Beyond after, 20 years. So that's interesting. What's also interesting is the fact that everybody who is on that Earth is apparently played by the same actors as the main cast. So Kate is still Ruby Rose. Her sister is still the same person. Luke Fox is still the same guy from Batwoman. So I'm wondering if maybe in the future at some point, if they do bring Bruce back in the main timeline on Batwoman, because Bruce, right now, the whole conceit of Batwoman is that Bruce has been gone for 3 years and Kate has to take over, essentially. I'm wondering if maybe they will bring Kevin Conroy back to play sort of the mentor character of Bruce for that show in the future. It's possible.
Maybe.
So
I'm going to ignore the correlation to Batman Beyond because I don't like that. So me.
We could have a less evil version of him, which would be ideal.
See, this, not to get on too much of a tangent, but when there's been any kind of spin-off material with Batman Beyond, I feel like the writers missed the point of old Bruce.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
They make him this abusive, nasty, blind, metaphorically speaking, just cantankerous, unreasonable individual when he wasn't. He was still Batman. It's just he was too old and worn down to keep it up. So that made him cranky. That was the worst of it. He was cranky. He was a taskmaster.
No, he's Batman. He's always cranky.
Yeah. So by the end of season 3, he and Terry had come to this equilibrium, this understanding, this mentor and student and mutual respect. And I don't know. I'm just getting tired of completely antisocial, tone-deaf Batman. It's
Yeah.
Yes, he is the night, he is the darkness. Can we dial it back a little? We don't have to go full Adam West, brave and the bold camp, but for pity's sake, let's... sorry, completely different rant.
That's okay. That's all right. I still did enjoy seeing him, though.
Oh, sure, and it was a neat way to do it and a neat way to bring the focus back on Kate to establish her as the successor.
Right.
It's just, it made me sad because it was Kevin Conroy.
I know. Hopefully they do something more with him in live action. I would really like to see that. So that's pretty much episode 2. That's when they're trying to find all of the, they're trying to find the Paragons, which is a new thing for this version of Crisis. That's not in the original, but apparently there are 7 Paragons of different aspects of like everything. And most of the characters you know are them, and then there's one who's like, what? Who are you? And that comes about in episode 3 when we find Ryan Choi, who is the Atom. Well, he's supposed to become the Atom eventually, and he's going to be on Legends of Tomorrow, but this was a really strange way to introduce him. He just kind of comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden he's the Paragon of Humanity, and it's like, okay, I know nothing about you. Seems like the Paragon of Humanity would have been better served as being an established character, but I don't know.
Not to be too nitpicky too, but wouldn't, again, getting ahead of myself and spoilery, but wouldn't it have made more sense that Lex turns out to be the Paragon of Humanity, since that's his angle, is to, take down and undo all the super individuals in the name of humanity.
Right.
Now, granted, it's Lex, so that's kind of fluff, but that's his angle. I don't know. That would have fit better with me than the Paragon of Truth, because it's Lex. He lies with every single word he says.
The thing is, he wanted to get rid of Superman, and he wants to get rid of every Superman. And, well, what better way to do that than by, just literally writing his name over Superman?
Yeah, but where's the truth in that?
Well, he didn't say that the Paragon of Truth had to be someone who didn't lie.
Wow, I can't really figure out that Zen cone. I'm going to let you have that one.
I don't know either. I can't figure it out either. I don't know. I just said it. But I will agree. He, as the Paragon of Truth, it's very, very strange. But at the same time, the Paragon of Humanity could have easily been someone else. It could have been Black Lightning. He would have been good for it. Lena Luthor from Supergirl, she would have been a good Paragon too. But she was not. Instead, she was this random dude who just got introduced in this crossover for reasons.
Now, is Black Lightning pre-established, or was he new to this?
Oh, Black Lightning is new to this crossover, but his show's been around for a few years.
Oh, okay.
He's in a completely separate universe, and he's never crossed over with any of these other shows before. So, but now he has. So, and honestly, it would have made more sense for Black Lightning to be one of the Paragons, because he ultimately ends up being part of the Justice League-esque team at the end of the whole thing. So it's a little odd.
All I know is the man needs a better costume, because he was hunched over in every single appearance. The costume itself is pretty good, but he's just like, he looks uncomfortable in every shot.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I haven't watched Black Lightning, to be honest. I've heard really good things about it, but I have not watched it. So, but it was good to see him there. I like that. I always like it when they have crossovers. It warms my heart, even if I don't necessarily know or follow the characters so much. I like to see them all together. It's fun.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I almost forgot. Also, episode 2, I believe, is where the Smallville crossover happened. Mm-hmm. With Clark Kent without powers. I don't know how he got rid of those, but he just doesn't have powers now. But isn't him interacting with this version of Lex was super fun. I think that pretty much covers episode 3, except for the fact that the entire multiverse gets destroyed somehow. And then they actually pull out a season 1 Legends of Tomorrow thing that I never expected to see again in the form of the Vanishing Point, which is outside of space and time somehow. So that was interesting. And this was the point where this was the month-long break. So like people were freaking out because on the Arrowverse wiki, people were freaking out because they had changed every single character except for the 7 or the 8, I guess technically 8 in the Vanishing Point to deceased. Changed their status to deceased. It's like everyone's freaking out about it. It's like they're not dead. They'll be back. Don't worry. We know there's more episodes of all these shows this season. They'll be back. But it was funny the way people were freaking out about it. So I was kind of surprised to see them actually go that hard. But
yeah, but it ultimately came to a sensible conclusion, so...
Right. It makes sense. But, man, it was like, oh. even the original comic version of Crisis didn't get as far as wiping out every single Earth. So, here we go. And in episode 4, this is where things really start to go down. Is it episode 4 or 5? No, okay, that's never
5 is when everyone wakes up.
5 is when everyone wakes up. Okay, I need
4
to move.
Is when
I need to move this over.
Flash is jumping around the Speed Force, and I didn't quite follow what was going on in the episode. Why Spectre Arrow was saying do the thing, but it worked. So okay,
that was weird, and I didn't quite get it. Maybe this is just another consequence of me not watching The Flash, but I don't understand how the Speed Force works. It was just like places. It was just, is the Speed Force just like, I know it's like time travel-ish. Like you can time travel by going through the Speed Force, because Barry did it multiple times and really screwed everything up by doing it. But I don't know exactly.
It might just be wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah. It's very, very odd. So episodes 4 and 5 are interesting. I said on Twitter that I was like, these are basically just episodes of Power Rangers. Because, I mean, you got the rock quarry, which is supposed to represent the antimatter universe, and it's like it's just an empty rock quarry. I'm like, what the heck? First of all, why is the antimatter universe just a bunch of rocks? I'm confused. It's like,
well, because the beginning of normal time was all pretty and woobly, so the anti-beginning of time has to be all rocky and gnarly.
Yeah, we're here at the beginning of time, aka the rock quarry. It's like, okay, fine, I get it. You can't go too hard on the effects on these shows. I know. Can't afford anything too crazy. But
credit's where it's due, though, when they're having the big sweeping shots and everybody's like staring in a direction or kicking at the air.
Oh yeah.
The ghosties that they put in there were pretty well tracked to where they needed to go poof.
Right. Yeah, the effects in this crossover, they're TV effects, so they're not amazing, but they did pretty decently overall.
Yeah.
They did as good as they could.
The beam struggle on the spaceship was decently done.
Yeah. As someone who watches Supergirl, I can say that the effects are not always as good as they are as they were in this crossover. There's a recent episode in particular where a volcano rises out of the sea just outside of the city, and it looks like complete garbage. It's terrible. It's so bad. But, can't win them all. And it got the point across, but it's definitely one of those moments where it takes you out of it. So I'm really glad that they saved their budget for this crossover, I guess. So more badass posing happens in the rock quarry all the time. And then after that, you even get more Power Rangers in episode 5 when they're fighting against giant creatures. And then in episode 4, the Anti-Monitor even says, after 10,000 years, I was going to be like, no, don't say it. Don't say it. After 10,000 years, I'm free. Don't say it. Sadly.
It's time to destroy the Earth.
It's time to destroy the multiverse. I was really hoping he would say that, but he did not. Or maybe I wasn't hoping he would say that. I don't know.
Spectre, I need 7 Power-Gons with attitude.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much what it was. Now I'm just imagining Oliver going, ay, ay, ay. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So episode 4 is basically just the big fight. Oliver comes back as the Spectre from being in purgatory. I forgot about them trying to resurrect him multiple times, and then the using the Lazarus pit, which ultimately went nowhere and was kind of pointless and useless.
Yep.
Because they just ended up jumping into purgatory anyway to get him. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Jim Corrigan Spectre shows up. It's like, who's this guy? Why is he here? Apparently, he's in Constantine's. He was in Constantine's show, which is only now connected to this because the same actor's playing Constantine on Legends of Tomorrow.
And we had that weird, out of character Jonah Hex bit, and
alternate universe Jonah Hex there. Legends has actually met Jonah Hex several times, and he's been more in line with what you'd expect from Jonah Hex. So, yeah, there's some weirdness going on there. So that wasn't the real Jonah Hex, technically.
Not Hex Prime.
No.
Too pretty to be Hex Prime.
Pretty much. And then we get into episode 5. Big culmination of everything. And this is the sort of the aftermath, I suppose. We start getting into the aftermath and the implications for this crossover, and the fact that everything is now on one Earth. Well, for the most part. There's still a few separate multiverses because they're on other networks and we can't have them crossing over for real here. But that's okay. So now all of the Arrowverse is on one Earth, which means Supergirl can finally hang out with everybody without having to have like crossover budgets and without having to have portals to different realities and all that fun stuff. So they seem to have increased Martian Manhunter's power quite a bit compared to where he was in Supergirl originally. He's a regular character on that show. And it's like, oh, okay, now he can just restore everyone's memories, like, just willy-nilly, just freely, like, all the time. And he's like, he almost never used his ability to telepathically talk to people. I think he used his ability to telepathically talk to people more in this episode than he ever has in Supergirl. So
somebody finally realized all the easy outs that a telepath gets you.
Yeah, I think someone finally realized just how powerful he's supposed to be. I don't know. Then they changed his costume so he can finally wear it without also having to have the not so great looking CG Martian head, which is nice. Finally. Let's see what else. The implications going forward for Supergirl are really interesting. She's going to have the most changes as a result of this, I think. Especially because Lex taking over the government organization that she works for, the DEO, and basically turning himself into a heroic philanthropist, which will not last. Almost surely will not last.
You don't think he maybe turned over a new leaf? He did say. So this is what it's like being a hero.
Interesting. Yeah, he did say that at one point. So that seems like if maybe they're kind of like teasing him turning over a new leaf, but no, never. But with the friction between Kara and Lena Luthor throughout this season, That could be interesting if they maybe finally have to reconcile and set their differences aside to take down Lex because he's being really mean because he's Lex. It's what he does. I did like Kara getting all giddy when Kate showed up. She's like, "Oh, she's on this Earth too! Yay!" That was fun. They work really well together. They had some great interactions during this crossover. So
they do have a nice world's finest vibe to them.
Yep, they do. And I'm really hoping that we will get to see more of them going forward. Sarah Lance, who's the leader of the Legends and the captain of the Wave Rider, the time ship, it was good to see her kind of step up as a tactician during the fight with Dynamax Bebo. I thought that was really cool. And she really fits into that role. So, Bebo, basically, Ian, by the way, since you don't watch Legends or any of the other shows, Bebo is basically their universe's version of Tickle Me Elmo.
I figured it was something like that.
Which you probably got that from the context, but yeah, there's been a few points where Bebo has played a very prominent role. There was one point where they went back in time, and I think somehow they got a Bebo doll a Bebo doll was with them when they went back in time, and then like prehistoric humans started worshipping Bebo as a god, and so when they went back to the future, everything was Bebo. So like they had Christmas was a Bebo day instead or whatever, things like that. It's like, okay. So that gives you an idea of just how off the rails that show is.
Right.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah. But then, of course, they went back and fixed it because, can't ruin the status quo for more than one episode. So, and then they have the final battle, which is another Power Rangers point where, all of a sudden the Anti-Monitor just gets giant for no reason. And of course they used the good old AT-AT maneuver from Empire Strikes Back against Bebo too, but it didn't work, which is a nice thing to see that doesn't always work.
Bit of a subversion.
Yes, I appreciate that. But then we get to the final battle, giant Anti-Monitor, which was interesting. I didn't know why he became giant. I didn't even know he could do that. It's like, is that just a thing he could do? Is that just a power he has? I guess so.
Well, not being overly familiar with this era or that aspect of the comics, I thought the Monitors were supposed to be these giant godlike beings anyway.
Well, I think they're taller than normal people, but I didn't know they were gigantic. I don't know.
I thought they were supposed to be, demigod or godlike beings. It kind of removed from your standard superheroes. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be very wrong. I just thought they were higher level entities in this show because you can't do that. It gave it a more personal feel. Maybe I'm just talking out of the side of my mouth. I don't know.
I don't remember the original Crisis. I haven't read it in a while. So that's probably true, though, but I don't know. Just make my Anti-Monitor grow! That's pretty much what happened. So, and then they... I did quite enjoy Ray shrinking down Superman. That was funny. What else was there about that fight? Do you got anything you want to touch on, Ian?
Just, again, it was like Apocalypse, and that cracked me up.
Yeah.
It's like it did a better representation of that character's power set, and it's not even the right character. Not only that, but that the actual fight was more interesting than the movie, where right. Apocalypse is standing there serenely surrounded by CG stuff that's just not doing anything. Giga Anti-Monitor is punching and slamming and shooting, and you've got the super folks flying around and attacking at different angles. Manhunter phases through a fist as it swings down on him, which was nifty.
Yep.
It was, the CG was a bit PS2, but the staging and the effort into making it a dynamic battle was done. The effort was made, and I appreciate that.
Right. And I really think that's it. You know, they defeated him. They defeated the Anti-Monitor by essentially pulling out an Ant-Man plot and shrinking him down forever and ever and ever until, you know, he was nothing. So that is very Ant-Man-like, actually. I realized that during the show. I'm like, okay, so it's just Ant-Man. All right. Are we going to be going down to the quantum level to get, is the Anti-Monitor going to be coming back from the quantum realm? Is that what's going on here? So
he'll be back. He'll figure out how to do anti-shrinkage, which is growth. Ha ha!
Oh, yes. So that's it. Pretty much on the, a rundown of what happened on the Arrowverse Crisis on Infinite Earths. I think it was a lot of fun. I'm mostly happy with it. There's a few things here and there that I have complaints about, but the implications, especially with Supergirl, going forward on that show is going to be very, very interesting. And I think pretty much everyone else got kind of brought back to the status quo for them. But so Supergirl is in a completely new place with a new status quo. So I am intrigued to see what happens there.
And as someone who hasn't watched any of the shows, I found it to be reasonably easy to follow along, and I appreciate the fact that they brought in so many characters and their own personal storylines into this big crossover event, which is pretty huge in scale regardless of what media you're putting it in. Had it maintain a cohesive narrative and have it actually matter to the overall story and characters by the end of it. Like this singular Earth, even if it is, you know, fairly standard for everyone else, is still a big change for the scope of the franchise, I suppose.
Right.
So yeah, the undertaking that what they did with all that they had was really impressive. So can't say that I'm a huge fan of the shows or really want to seek them out, but for what was presented, I was impressed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There was a lot of fun cameos, and it really showed that, you know, the stuff is all, you know, even tangentially connected, even just as a multiverse where they don't cross over much except in here. I would say that it was really, really surprising and exciting to see Ezra Miller as Movie Flash. That was very surprising. I was not expecting any of the movie characters to appear at all.
Kind of feel like that should have been shown off earlier when, you know, the universe wasn't supposed to have completely been eradicated, but
yeah,
maybe they had to space it out for budget reasons. I don't know.
Well, there's also apparently that was a last-minute addition, and that was a request from Warner Brothers themselves. So I'm kind of surprised that they didn't have to like fight Warner Brothers to get like some sort of movie representation in this. Warner Brothers actually willingly let them do it. So
of course they also willingly referenced the Green Lantern movie. So
yeah. Or no, it's supposed to be the new HBO Green Lantern show, HBO Max.
Oh,
which is going to be produced by the same company that does all these shows. So that's what that's a reference to. There's supposed to be a new live action Green Lantern show on HBO Max. So,
okay.
That's what that's a reference to in the closing montage of universes. Felt like a little bit of a punch to the gut for people who liked the Swamp Thing show, because he shows up on an alternate Earth at the end in that in the multiverse montage, and his show's already been canceled, and I usually got canceled halfway through before I could even finish it. So that's a bit of a that hurt. I'm sure that hurts a bit for fans of that show.
At least it got acknowledged.
Yeah. I guess it just goes to show probably how long they've been in development on this crossover, though. Because, yeah. So what did you think of the best cameos were, Ian? No, we talked about Alexander Knox. showing up. That was really cool.
The fella playing Old Flash.
Yeah, he's from the 90s. He's from
he? Okay, I thought so.
Yeah.
Especially with that flashback segment where it's like old standard definition footage. I'm like, that's gotta be it.
Yeah, and he's actually been a regular on The Flash for a while now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, John Wesley Shipp. There we go. Yep.
Yeah, that was cool. And, like I said, Kevin Conroy.
Oh, Kevin Conroy's a ton of fun. Having Tom Welling reprise his role as Clark Kent was cool. I know a lot of people were hoping to see him actually suit up because I don't think he ever actually did on Smallville, or if he did, it was like the last episode. Having Lucifer show up, which I didn't even realize before this crossover that Lucifer had any connection to DC Universe was fun. Basically, Constantine and Lucifer. Like, I don't know, man. They have some history there.
Was one of the most delightful scenes out of the whole thing.
Yeah, I really wish we'd have gotten to see their interactions previously, because that was fun. Yeah. So having Tom Ellis show up as Lucifer Morningstar, that was cool. Brandon Routh as Kingdom Come Superman. Yeah, he's still got it. I would definitely like to see more of him as Superman again, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. And then just the surprise of seeing Ezra Miller as movie Flash come in here was nice. I think that about wraps it up. Unless you've got anything else you want to add, Ian, we can get into the Q&A here.
Just Gleek. Really? Really?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they basically assembled as the new Justice League.
They had the musical sting and everything. Just really.
Yep. Here we go. The Wonder Twins can't be too far behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, boy, it's gonna be interesting. I don't think they can call themselves the Justice League though, so I wonder what team name.
Well, it's use. The old school Hall of Justice, so they probably will go with Super Friends. I mean, Lex dropped it in one of the episodes. Super
Friends is what the main character team on Supergirl calls himself, though.
Well, if they're all together now, they might just transition the title to everybody.
Maybe. We'll see. All right. Well, I think that's it. We're done. Are we ready to move on to the Q&A? Because I am.
We are. If you want your question answered here on the show, write to us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com. Tweet to us at BumbleKast. Comment on any of the YouTube videos, or if you're a patron, just post pretty much anywhere on the Patreon page or in the Q&A channel over on the Discord. To assist us getting through the many questions that we get so we can get to all of you faster, please do not ask questions that have already been answered within the recent episodes. We list all the questions in the descriptions of those episodes. If they've already been answered on the FAQ, which you can find on bumbleking.com, or if it would be something detailing events in the Archie Sonic books before the cancellation, I will not be answering those on the show because of reasons. If you want your question answered earlier than anybody else, become a $5 patron over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, or throw a few bucks our way at kofi.com/BumbleKast. That's ko-fi.com/BumbleKast. Be sure to include your name and your question so we don't get a random $5 donation. I'm like, what's this? This is nice, but why?
Alrighty. Let's go ahead and get started with the priority Q&A. First one comes from the Imagine Breaker 121212. First episode of our Babylon Rogues would be in another dimension. Are they in another dimension from the main universe now? I'm guessing that's what they're trying to get at.
I am going to say no. As far as I can tell, they are in the same dimension as Sonic. They are part of Sonic's world. I would be kind of curious about that since they only seem to show up in the racing games, and the racing games seem to show off a level of technology that doesn't seem to exist in the rest of the Sonic world settings. But every time I've used the Babylon Rogues in the comics showing up in Sonic's world, I haven't gotten a note. So, yeah, I guess they're in Sonic's dimension? Question mark.
Alrighty. Next question comes from Diane W. Wasn't there going to be a story where you elaborate on Fiona's reason to betray the freedom fighters and go back to a life of crime, as well as her backstory and decision to go with Scourge, with an in-depth look into their relationship and how they started dating? Also, how can Adam be the one who activated the Metal Sonic Troopers when he was nowhere near them and had no way of knowing about them?
It has been so long since I've had to address any of that. I'm a little fuzzy, but I'm pretty sure Fiona was as detailed as we were going to get into. She explained her reasons for turning on the team when she did, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is, I from what I remember, was either sufficiently explained or just implied. And anything else beyond that would have been exploring the relationship and how it moved on and probably utterly failed afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
As for Adam, Adam was a bit of a mess because he was written by, I believe Carl he was introduced by Carl Bollers, and then he left the book, and Ken Penders took over the Adam and Anonymous storyline, and then I came on with no idea of what either of them intended for those. Mm-hmm. So I tried to fill in the blanks as best I could. Suffice to say, Adam was a Nicole-level super AI, and if, the, what was it, New Megaopolis network was strong enough, and the Knothole City network wasn't secure enough, he got in. I would really have to go back and reread that old stuff to see what I missed or what it could have been. But it could just be that it doesn't make sense. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Our next question comes from TylerreneeM. Hey, is Solaris from the games and the Solaris in the comics the same character as in Solaris Harmed the Universes / Multiverses / Megaverses? Hence the comics is Solaris merely told in a different light / format, or are they two different versions entirely? I'm a little lost by this question, but I hope maybe you can parse it, Ian.
I think I can detangle it. I think they're asking, is game Solaris the same as comic Solaris? And the question kind of gets muddy because of them existing across all space and time.
Sure.
So, I'm going to say no, just because there was always a distinction between the game characters and events and the comic characters and events. So had Solaris shown up in the comic, it probably would have just been its own version of it, and its deconstruction of space and time would have been within the confines of that universe. I know it showed up in the big Sonic encyclopedia, but that was more of an entry to say, hey, look at all this cool stuff within the Sonic universe. I don't think we ever actually got to it.
All right, and our last priority question this week comes from Andrew D. What was it like writing Bean the Dynamite, Flying Frog, and Rosie the Rascal? Did you have a method for differentiating how they spoke and acted? Yes.
Bean was meant to be cartoony. Now, he's Looney Tunes start to finish. He's the funny one. Mm-hmm. He could throw in a moment of impressive competency just so he wasn't a 100% joke character, but he was never meant to be a menacing or unapproachable character. He was supposed to be someone you could have fun with, but would also be a legitimate threat for Sonic to face. Now, something to have fun with, but not to be a complete yawn fest. Bean shows up and you don't go, oh, well, this isn't going to be any kind of problem for Sonic. He can blow things up a lot, and that makes him dangerous, but he's also a goofball, so it makes him fun. Mm-hmm. Flying Frog was in a desperate attempt to give him any kind of characterization. I looked at a lot of his art and how just wide-eyed and unsettling that big toothy grin was. and figured let's go full scale on him. Let's just make him unnervingly, unsettlingly unhinged, so that when he has his lucid moments, when he's cooperative, you're not really settled like with Bean. When Bean has his lucid moments, it's like, uh-oh, here comes the punchline. With Flying, it was meant to be more like, okay, he's not doing something dangerous. Why? When is the other shoe going to drop? This guy is not someone you would leave around small children or animals. He's worrisome. Rosie was meant to be more of a corruption of Amy's characterization at the time. That was more around I think it was the Sonic Heroes, Sonic X era, where they had her as kind of the coquettish, pretty girl who had serious anger issues. She would try to be, cutesy and hyper feminine, but then fly into a ultra violent rage with the hammer, which I think worked better in Sonic X than Heroes, but that's something else entirely. So with Rosie, it was supposed to be kind of a corruption of that, where instead of playing it as the goofy anime trope, to view it as this kind of, I guess, creepy Lolita angle. When you really look at the context of what that character would have to go through to rationalize these actions and emotions, it's not great. So that's more or less where I was going. She would have this kind of innocent, sing-songy tone of voice, but what was coming out in that tone of voice did not fit at all and was worrisome. So there were supposed to be different flavors of crazy.
All right. And with that, let's jump on over into the standard Q&A. First question comes from our good buddy, Scruffy Matt. Happy New Year, BumbleKast. I was wondering, what were your favorite games, movies, and TV shows of 2019?
I really had to stop and look some of this up because 2019 is just a blur.
I did too. Yeah. I was like, what happened in 2019? Did I even play anything that came out in 2019? Yes, I did, actually. I was kind of surprised.
It doesn't help that I'm late to the game with a lot of these things, so it's like, well, this came out well before 2019, but I only got to it now, so...
Exactly, yeah.
Does it count? I don't...
Yeah. So what did you play for 2019, Ian, that you enjoyed?
I unironically loved Untitled Goose Game. I know the haters are rankled over it because everyone's going nuts over it, but for what it is, it's a cute puzzle game. It's fun. It's like playing a cartoon. It's just goofy. It's delightful in its simplicity.
Yeah.
I'm still playing Death Stranding, picking at it here and there, and I'm enjoying it a whole lot more than I thought it would. It's a very different game than I thought it would be. I think anybody thought it would be.
Yeah.
And I can see why folks would have been disappointed or not enjoyed it, but I have had way too much time spent on it, truth be told. Fire Emblem Three Houses, I never actually completed my run-through from it. I've been mostly watching Aaliyah play through the various campaigns, but really enjoyed the music, really enjoyed the characterization in that, and very late to the party, but I'm pretty sure I played Hollow Knight last year. Still haven't beaten it because it's hard, but absolutely spectacular game. Superb in every regard. What about you, Kyle?
Well, I jumped into Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which came out in 2019, and I had a ton of fun with it. It's a really, really great throwback to the Metroidvania style of Castlevania games, just without the name, and that's okay. Don't need the name. I had a ton of fun with it. It has an excellent soundtrack, and I found it to be very engaging, even though I spent a whole lot of time making fun of the story. If you watch the stream, because I streamed it, I spent a lot of time making fun of the story, but it was still so much fun to play and everything that I was still engaged by it. I still had a ton of fun. So after that is a game that's meant to be made fun of and was very, very entertaining, and I'm glad I finally got the chance to play it in full. Metal Wolf Chaos XD, which of course is a game originally came out in 2001 for the original Xbox, but that got released this year for PC in a new remastered version thanks to Devolver Digital, which they are the greatest company ever for doing that. So had a lot of fun with Metal Wolf Chaos. Essentially, you're playing as the president, wandering around in a giant mech, trying to stop the evil vice president from taking over the nation. Except he succeeds at one point, and you have to take America back because, you know, it's a ridiculous game, and I love it. It's so over the top. And eventually you go to space! And then after that, this is a game originally from 2004 that finally got an semi-official but mostly unofficial revival in the form of City of Heroes, the 2004 MMORPG, superhero MMORPG that finally the server code and everything for that game got leaked, and so now there are unofficial servers for that game all over the place. And I am very happy to have that game back because I really enjoyed it and sort of like codified some of my own personal characters in my head as that game did. The designs of them and stuff that I created in that game of them is sort of still like, in some ways, those versions are still knocking around in my head. So it was good to be able to get back into that universe and play around again there. So I haven't played it in a while. I'm hoping I can get back to it, but I'm just happy that it's back and that it can't be shut down again. So what did you enjoy in the theaters this year, Ian?
Cream of the Crop was Endgame. I know it had a lot of problems. I don't care. It was brain candy. It was great.
The thing is, I liked Endgame, but I didn't put it on my list because it's one of those things where I think back on it and I like, oh, okay, and that's kind of silly, and you know, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it was good in the moment, but after it's over, it's kind of like you think back on it and you're like, okay, you start picking it apart. That happened for me with Episode 9 too, Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. With Endgame, though, I'm very willing to just turn off the rational part of my brain.
Yeah, I get it.
And enjoy it for what it is. It's a mess, but I love it. So yeah.
It's a mess, but it's an entertaining mess.
Did not come out in 2019, but finally got around to watching Your Name, which is a remarkable anime movie where the premise sounds like it should be one of those by the numbers things that you would ignore. A boy and a girl body swap at random intervals and have to live out each other's lives, and they kind of communicate to each other through text messages and notes. And you would think that would go in the kind of zany comedy route that has been played into the ground. But the twists and the turns that they put into it are exhilarating, and there is more than one gut punch, heart-stopping moment where going back and watching it again, it hurts more because you know it's coming. The first time it hits, it's like, oh no. And then you see it coming and you're like, no, it's going to happen again. I can't stop it. It is a phenomenal film. Highly recommend it. Have a tissue box handy if you're a softie. It's good. And I had Into the Spider-Verse on here, but apparently that came out in 2019 and 2018, and I just watched it a lot in 2019. So.
It just came out in December 2018.
Still honorable mention. It's a fantastic film. So
yeah, we didn't see it till 2019, to be fair. So on both of our lists, we have Shazam.
Yeah, I didn't want to take that one from you.
No, that's okay. We can both talk about it. Shazam was like one of the most fun movies. One of the most fun experiences I had in the theater this year.
Delightful surprise.
Very, very delightful, yes. Just overall, just a really fun superhero story. It's another origin story, but it's just so much fun that it's not a big deal that it's an origin story. So I'm okay with it. I also really loved Captain Marvel, as I believe we went over in our review. The other Captain Marvel, not Shazam. That's a different Captain Marvel. Kind of weird that they both came out, within a month of each other. I just was really enthralled and engaged with Captain Marvel, so I quite enjoyed it a lot. What did you watch this year, Ian, that you enjoyed?
I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff, but on both our lists, the new DuckTales series.
Yes, excellent.
It's fun in its own right, but I love the fact that it's paying homage and incorporating all the Saturday morning cartoon stuff from across the Disney line. Just the references to gummy bears alone had me bouncing off the walls, if you will.
Oh, yeah, literally. Yeah, that was hilarious. I loved that.
The way they've done Darkwing Duck in this, I really dig. The whole thing is just smart and it's fun, and looking forward to season 3 because they are not holding back.
No, they are not.
Following along with My Hero Academia, which is really good and a little frustrating as well, because there seems to be this everything pushes towards these big changes and these big reveals, and it's really engaging. But by the end of the day, not a lot is actually accomplished. A lot of what is sacrificed is undone. Currently where I am in the anime, there could be a big turning point for a particular character, but I also see a very easy out for them that's been built in. So I don't know how it's going to go. And if they do reverse things, I'm not going to mind too much because I don't want bad things to happen to them. But I also want there to be consequences. I don't know. I do know, though, that last time I saw my youngest brother, he's been following the manga. I've been sticking strictly to the anime. And he asked where the anime was so far, story-wise, because apparently it's fairly faithful. I said, well, we're about here. And his eyes got big, and he started cackling. And I said, nope, no spoilers. So I know big things are coming. Just She-Ra on Netflix.
I've been wanting to watch that. I need to get back to it.
It had a bit of a rough start. Animation quality definitely improved as seasons went on. But once it finds its footing, oh boy, does it get going. And the last season especially was like, oh wow. There are stakes and there are consequences and stuff happens. And it's really engaging. I really dig it. Honorable mention to the Dragon Prince from some of the folks who were involved in Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's a cute show. It's definitely got its high moments. It's kind of fluffy, and I would say that some of the resolution of the last season was a bit fast, but it has some really engaging characters. The animation, especially after season 1, is nice, and it does a good job overall. And don't judge me, Internet. I am enjoying Rick and Morty still. It's a funny show, but some people take it way too seriously.
How many episodes of Rick and Morty happened this year?
Not a whole lot.
I was going to say, I don't think they were.
They got a handful out there and went on another hiatus, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's self-referential. It's funny, and as long as you don't think Rick is a hero, he is not. He is clearly the villain of the series. As long as you don't idolize the mass murdering sociopath, then yeah, it's a great, fun, wacky show. What about you?
Well, we already went over DuckTales. Fantastic show. You should watch it if you're not. My other thing, I actually started watching this recently. Started watching it in 2020, but it came out in 2019, so I'm counting it, dang it. Came out in November. The new Harley Quinn cartoon.
Yeah, just started watching it this month, so I didn't count it for myself, but...
Okay. Yeah, I went ahead and counted it. I'm really enjoying it. It's got some seriously dark comedy moments, but it really plays them. It plays them really well. So even what's his name? The Psycho.
Dr. Psycho.
Dr. Psycho. Okay. Yeah, Dr. Psycho. Even he's like, he's not entirely terrible, even though he is. So I'm also really having a lot of fun with Harley and Ivy's relationship is great. Kite Man is just so freaking ridiculous. He's a freaking himbo.
The whole thing is fantastic, but for me, my top pick is the fact that they took Matt Hagen, Clayface.
Clayface, yeah.
Yes, he's an actor, but in this, he is an actor.
Clayface.
He is gifted with his ability to act. And
Clayface.
It's phenomenal.
Clayface,
I love it.
Clayface really is the best. Yeah.
To me, it feels like a faster paced, even harder R-rated Venture Brothers.
See, and I'm not familiar with Venture Brothers. I've never watched it, but man, if it's anything like this, then I'm probably going to enjoy it.
It's a lot of, deep dive referential stuff.
Oh yeah.
Very self-aware, very pop culture oriented without being hinging on it. A lot of adult humor that isn't just the violence and profanity, but there's plenty of that as well.
Of course.
And a lot of very sharp, fast-paced back and forth dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this game...
Venture Brothers started off as a spoof of Johnny Quest and eventually became just a spoof of all sci-fi and nerdery when you get down to it.
Yeah, this show's just like real snappy and real. It's pretty fast paced. I'm like, whoa, okay, slow down a little bit maybe, but at the same time, keep it coming. I'm enjoying it. So,
I mean, I lost some of the dialogue laughing so hard when King Shark is sneaking in. He's like, "Thank you for playing to my strengths." Some people don't even acknowledge the fact that I'm an IT guy, and then he just bites the guy's head off.
Yeah.
It's like, not for the squeamish, but man, it's a funny dark humor show.
It is very, very funny. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it a lot. And we already went over Batwoman, but Batwoman is another one of my favorite shows of this year. So if you have not watched that, go do it. There's only like 8 episodes, so you're not too far behind right now if you get started. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one from Sonic Blue Ranger. Try to burn through these real quick. Does the Sonic can't lose rule mean that he can't suffer a permanent loss, but can go through hard times and come back from it?
Yeah, exactly. We can't have him lose forever and always, because obviously that would be the end of the book.
Well, yeah.
But he can have, momentary setback. I mean, that's the entire Metal Virus saga, really, is issue after issue of him losing, but he can't lose by the end of it all. Kind of the big hallmark of, or not hallmark, but one of the best examples of that was in the old Archie book with 175. Eggman wins in that issue, unequivocally. But when we pitched the story, we made a point of saying, he loses in this issue, but by the end of the story arc, he has won. So, yeah, Sonic can't lose, but he can have losses.
Right. Next question comes from Litten Yoshi Growlith. Is there a small chance you could put Cosmo the Cedrian in your comics after the Metal Virus saga, please?
I'm honestly not sure. I've heard somewhere that the Cedrians, which number one is not an official term, so I probably couldn't use that, but that all of that stuff in the Meterex saga is tied to some kind of rights issue, so they're not accessible. I don't know. Personally, I would kind of like to take another stab at the Meterex saga, make it something a little more Sonic than what Sonic X gave us, but I have not even begun to formulate such a pitch, and I have no idea if we'd be able to do so or if Sega would want to. So, short answer, I don't know.
Well, the fact that Sonic X has somehow become relevant again via promotional tie-in for the movies, I guess? Because, I don't know. Maybe they're more willing to let you play around with that, but I don't know. We'll see. Our final question comes from Valerie. What wouldn't Shadow do for a Klondike bar?
He wouldn't trade that damn fourth Chaos Emerald.
He wouldn't? Well, that's boring. Seems like...
Well, you know how hard it was for him to find it.
I know, but it seems like a Klondike bar would be a lot more useful and delicious than a Chaos Emerald. I don't know.
Well, it is the only way to perform Klondike control.
True, yeah. And with that, we're at the end of the Q&A. And we are at the end of this episode of the BumbleKast. This is a bit of an extra long one this week.
Before we go, we're going to give a big shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. You guys know who you are, but for those listening and don't know, a big thank you to Daniel H., Eric F., Connell T., Alex P., Zastendo27, Diane W., Justin S., Andrew D., Blue Title Gamer, Koopling Crew 128, Chris A., John B., Jennifer R., Revan the Light, Lisa M., Fernando A., Frederick, Scruffy Matt, PC the Unicorn, Duas Dizdin, Dave M., Mike B., Samuel P., Sam Cybercat, Degama F. Wow, Brody M., Final Neil, Justin G., Dan M. S., Silly String, Takaro, Lee H.K., Chevelle, Don B., Sin Fritz, John M., James K., Adam B.T., and Overthinking Films.
Thank you, everybody, for your massive amounts of support. We love you. We couldn't do this without you. Literally.
Literally. Absolutely literally. Well, I mean, we could, but not for long.
Yes. Where can people find you at, Ian?
Head over to Twitter and look up Ian at Ian Flynn BKC, or head over to my website, BumbleKing.com, which has my portfolio, the FAQs, a release schedule calendar, all sorts of good stuff. Also, check out the webcomic that I'm doing with Adam Bryce Thomas, Drogoon.com. That's Drogune. Free updates every Friday. And if you're a patron over at patreon.com/Drogoon, you get free monthly gift art.
Ooh.
What about you, Kyle? Where are you?
Oh, I'm over here. But you can find me on Twitter at KyleJCRB, or you can head on over to kngi.org, where you can find archived episodes of the BumbleKast in MP3 downloadable format for your listening pleasure. You can also find all the RSS feeds and podcast links and stuff all over there as well, so you can add it to your podcast app of choice. You can also find my other show, Nitro Game Injection, which is a video game music remix arrangement cover show featuring all sorts of awesomeness that streams live on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Also on kngi.org, you can find the 24/7 video game music remix stream playing all the time. You can tune in whenever, wherever, and enjoy some VGM, and then you can listen to my show live on that same stream as well. So be sure to check that out.
You can also help support the show by heading over and buying something from the Bumble Store. That's shop.spreadshirt.com/Bumble Store. A variety of images that you can put on a variety of goods. And if there's anything you would actually like to see us add to it, please let us know.
Indeed. Don't forget, you can also find the show, more info about the show, and you can follow us for updates over on Twitter at BumbleKast. You can also email us at bumblecast@yahoo.com, and you can find the podcast and listen to it over on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and, of course, YouTube.
And finally, you can catch us streaming video game content on BumbleKast Gaming Sunday evenings, usually around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/BumbleKast Gaming or other points throughout the week. Follow at BumbleKast on Twitter to see if we have any special announcements on that.
Yes, I've been playing Doom this week, as in the week we're recording, which would be last week when this episode comes out. So I'm looking forward to playing more Doom for you guys, and I hope you guys will join me. So that's going to do it for this edition of the BumbleKast.
We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in a couple weeks for even more BumbleKasty goodness. Whatever part of the multiverse you're in, have a good one.
All right, just don't get obliterated by the antimatter wave. Try to avoid that if you can. I know it's hard.
There's enough of me here. It could probably pass by twice and I'd still be standing. True story. I was in California for WonderCon.
Uh-huh.
And there was a kind of business dinner in that there was, the two IDW editors and a few other IDW folks, and I forget who all was around the table. It wasn't like a formal business dinner. It was just, we're all working the show, so let's go to dinner together.
Mm-hmm.
And I began to soft pitch the Zombot arc, and it turned into a full-blown pitch because I have no shut-off valve. And I got to the events of 24 and described them beat for beat, scene for scene, and partway through I realized that all the side conversations at the table had stopped, and everybody at the table was listening, rapt.
Uh-oh.
So I finish it up, and this one lady at the table says, "I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I really have no idea what you're talking about, but you tell it so engagingly, I just had to listen." I'm like, well, I will take that as high praise. Read the book when it comes out. Yeah. She's like, I will. I don't know if she ever did, but...
You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org. Oh, go ahead. What's up?
Everything gets, unified into a single Earth. So, assuming all the variations of the people are on Earth, which version of you is determined to be on that Earth?
That's actually...
What if you were living a high life, but then you're reincarnated as, hobo you? Or,
see...
what? How does that work?
See, and this is interesting because there was actually a point during, I forget which crossover it was. There was a previous Arrowverse crossover where Kara found her sister Alex, and she was a different person, a different character. So with this new unified world, what happened to that version of Alex? I don't know.
Maybe they'll address it later on.
Maybe they will, or they'll just gloss over it and be like, nope, these are the prime versions of all these characters, so anyone who does not exist, or anyone who existed separate from these characters is just gone. So
thanks, Oliver. Good job.
Yeah, good work. You killed a version of Supergirl's sister that we only saw for a few minutes. So not a big deal. It's just kind of interesting. Like which character variants take priority when it comes to the reunified Earth? Maybe they will explore that. I don't know. These shows tend to have all sorts of missed opportunities and things that they should do that they never do, and it's really annoying. So who knows?